Let's talk about how important our words are when we're building IEPs. Welcome to the Special Education Inner Circle podcast. I'm your host, Catherine Witcher, and I've got 5 strategies for you today on how to use the right words when building an IEP. These are strategies that we've all seen work and not work, and I've put them together for you to make building an IEP easier and more simple. That's what we're always about inside of the Master IEP Coach community. In case you're not familiar, I'm the founder of Master IEP Coach programs. I'll put some links here. You can check out and see if the current Master IEP Coach mentorship is open for enrollment. But let's go ahead and jump in to these strategies. I got strategy number 1. Strategy number 1 is to make sure we are using few words, not many. Here's what happens when we use few words. When we make sure that every word has a purpose, when we start to only say what is necessary, that doesn't mean that we're saying any less than what is necessary, but that we're only saying what is necessary. That is the beginning of building a sustainable IEP. I talk about building a sustainable IEP all the time because building an IEP that's sustainable allows us to implement with strong accountability and make sure that everything's getting done. But when we have an IEP that is stacked with so many words, it feels chaotic. It feels overwhelming. It is not streamlined. There's, I don't know, maybe this old school mindset of like the more is better. That's not always true inside of an IEP. I mean, how many times have you read something and you read like 3 paragraphs inside of some present levels or some, have something that has to do with the upcoming, goals that are being proposed. And you read 3 paragraphs and you have to read it again because you're like, what did that even say? Don't feel like you have to put a lot of jargon or extras in there. So few words, not many. Let's make it sustainable and streamlined instead of it feeling overwhelming and chaotic. Here's strategy number 2. Making sure we're specific versus vague. I'm going to give you a specific example in this. So when it comes to our accommodations and modifications section, a lot of times there are general strategies, preferred seating. What does that mean? That is not specific enough. There's something that says visual schedules. Well, let's make sure we have some examples or some more detail put into the IEP. This is where you want a few more words. This is where you want to get specific to make sure, again, that we can implement easily without having to go hunt down more details. A lot of times we're looking for more information because we just have a generic bullet point. So we want to be specific versus vague. How specific can you get? And again, it only takes a few words. If I'm looking at preferred seating, I want to know, is preferred seating the front of the class, the back of the class, near the door, away from the door? Like that's just a couple extra words that can absolutely make the IEP more sustainable, more streamlined, and it cuts down on a lot of hunting for the right information. So that was strategy number 2. Strategy number 3, let's make sure that we're using gentle words and not harsh words. Now you might say, I don't put harsh words inside of the IEP. I don't do that. Well, if you are a teacher, you have a lot of opportunities to make sure that you are frameworking things in a positive way. If you are a parent and you're writing an advocacy letter, which I always encourage that you're writing a collaborative advocacy letter before the IEP, let's make sure that we are using gentle words, not harsh words. Now, here's what I mean by gentle. I don't mean sugarcoating things. I mean things like gentle means present levels of performance being put as a fact. Fact is child is doing this. Harsh words come when we are constantly comparing a child to a same age peer over and over and over. It makes it hard to read from the parent perspective. I can tell you that after helping thousands of parents through the IEP process. When we look at IEP paperwork, that of course it says, here's the current level. And maybe there's a section or 2 that's talking about, compared to same age peers, but it's not repeated over and over and over and over, which makes it a very hard document to sit with. Now, parents, I want to give you some, feedback here. If you're sitting through a conversation at an IEP meeting and you're consistently hearing, well, compared to same age peers, compared to same age peers. And if it is hitting you in the heart and it's making it hard for you to listen to the rest of the meeting because of that, ask the team to stop. Because sometimes from an educational standpoint, they're just not aware. The team is not aware. And I speak here all the time, right? This is parents, teachers, admins, and therapists who are listening here to this episode, which means that I'm looking from all sides of the table. It's the same thing when parents are looking at what they need to be improved in their child's IEP. Let's make sure that we don't sound like we're throwing anybody under the bus, that we're making any accusations. There are facts. Maybe the fact is your child did not receive enough speech services, like it wasn't delivered. Okay, what was supposed to be delivered, or there's facts about something. A fact is different than attacking somebody for not doing their job. So there's differences in how we do this. So how are you going to framework your words? When I say gentle, gentle means factual, not accusing. It means saying what needs to be said, not necessarily sugarcoating anything, okay? But we don't need to drive home negative or what could feel like hurtful statements when we can find a better way to say it. Finding the right words is one of the best skills that you can develop as a teacher who's advocating for your students and for yourself and for your IEP team, as a parent who's speaking up for your child. And you know what? A lot of times you're advocating for the team to get what they need for your child also, right? But finding the right words is so important. It's important. Here's strategy number 4 for us to use tact when we are delivering things and not to be impulsive. There are so many bridges that are broken inside of special education because something that was said on the fly. Oops, I didn't mean it like that. Or, I was emotional, or it was taken out of context. So it's important for us to make sure that we are taking out the emotion and not being impulsive in our words, because the success of an IEP really does depend on teamwork. And to do this, even when there's struggle within the team, we have to make sure that we are being strategic in our words and not being impulsive. So when you hear yourself wanting to say something, wanting to send that email, wanting to, send that message, you may want to write it and take a deep breath, maybe even sleep on it, and then look it over again. Of course, you can have somebody else read it too. That can always be very helpful before you hit send. But let's try not to be so impulsive, even though I know emotions run high inside of our special education system. It's just part of it. I also want to talk about strategy number 5. This is part of the core values of Master IEP Coach and all of the programs that I'm delivering to parents, teachers, admins, and therapists. We need to make sure that we have encouraging words and not discouraging words. Right? Again, I'm not looking to sugarcoat something, but we can infuse hope and possibilities in so many different places. So hope, possibilities, strategies, leadership. Those are core values inside of our Master IEP Coach community. I've seen this work for almost 30 years, and I can't believe I'm saying that out loud. Yes, almost 30 years I've been building IEPs. And the ones that are most successful have these 5 strategies. So they are streamlined with few words, not many. They are not a bunch of jargon. They are very specific. They are very gentle when it comes. It's factual. There's no accusations. There's no blaming. There's no focusing on all the negatives, focusing on all the weaknesses of the child. No, we're stating, here's a fact. Here's where we are. Here's where we're going. Most successful IEP teams, they are not impulsive in their words, and they are infusing hope and possibilities everywhere. If these 5 strategies, if you're just like, yes, I can do these, or I need to find more of these right words, or I want this, but I can't always get my IEP team on board with me in using these 5 strategies. That's why everything feels like a mess, because not everybody's on the same page. Inside of the Master IEP Coach mentorship, I teach you how to help get everybody on the same page. My entire job for the last, again, almost 30 years has been to get people on the same page, to get an IEP that's working, to get more results with less conflict. These 5 strategies help you get more results with less conflict. And if you are thinking, I need these for myself, then come on in. If you're like, hey, I need to get my team on board, come on into the mentorship too. Because it's a whole different level to say, I can do this. Now, how do I get everybody else? How do we get everybody else to write an IEP that's not overcomplicated? How do we get everybody else to stop using impulsive statements and kind of breaking down trust inside the IEP team? How do we get everybody else to write specific things that just make sense, that save us all time inside of the IEP? These are all leadership strategies that are much different than just saying, hey, this is the way it needs to be done. Because we're all humans and we all have to co-create this IEP together. So I hope to see you inside of the Master IEP Coach Mentorship. Don't forget these 5 strategies. Go ahead and write them down if you need to. Which one are you struggling with most, or which one is your IEP team struggling with most? I'd love for you to go ahead and send me a DM on Instagram and tell me which one are you struggling with most, and I'd love to give you a couple more strategies to help you out. All right, everyone, I'll see you next time on the Special Education Inner Circle Podcast.